First contact in the void. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter had never felt so lonely to Sarah Chen. 3 months into their mining operation aboard the MSV Prosperity, the endless sea of rocks and silence was starting to wear on even the most seasoned crew members. The deep space mining vessel, with its weathered hull and reliable systems, had been their home as they extracted rare earth elements crucial for Earth's quantum computing industry. Sarah stood at the bridge's main viewport, her dark eyes reflecting the distant glimmer of stars. As Chief Operations Officer, the smooth running of their mining operation fell squarely on her shoulders. The ship's AI chimed softly, drawing her attention to the holographic display. Commander Chen, anomalous energy signature detected in Sector 7. The AI's calm voice announced. Pattern matches no known mining operations. Show me, Sarah commanded, brushing a strand of gray-streaked black hair from her face. The holographic display expanded, revealing a strange energy pattern she'd never seen before. Captain Reynolds to the bridge. Captain James Reynolds arrived moments later, his heavy boots echoing on the metal deck. Despite 2 decades in space, he moved with the energy of someone half his 60 years. What have we got, Sarah? Unknown energy signature. Sir, it's not matching any registered mining operations, and it's definitely not natural. She manipulated the display, highlighting the peculiar wavelength patterns. It almost looks like a distress signal. Reynolds stroked his salt and pepper beard, studying the readout. In the belt, we're the only authorized operation for 50 million kilometers. The energy signature pulsed again, stronger this time. The ship's AI updated its analysis. Signal strength increasing, detecting traces of exotic particle emissions consistent with advanced propulsion technology. Sarah's heart rate quickened. Sir, if that's what I think it is. First contact. Reynolds finished her thought, his voice barely a whisper. He straightened his uniform. Sound General Quarters. I want all hands at stations and weapons hot. We don't know if we're looking at a genuine distress call or a trap. As klaxons blared throughout the Prosperity, Sarah's mind raced. Humanity had always wondered about first contact. Would it come from a peaceful explorer or a hostile invader? Now, on what should have been a routine mining operation, they might be about to find out. Signal source located, the AI announced. Bearing 047 Mark 23. Distance, 300,000 kilometers. Take us in, but maintain tactical distance, Reynolds ordered. Sarah, get Dr. Rivera up here. If we're really dealing with aliens, we'll need our xenobiologist. As they approached the source, a shape emerged from the darkness. It was unlike anything Sarah had ever seen, a vessel that seemed to defy conventional engineering. Its hull appeared to be made of overlapping plates that shifted and moved like scales, but many were damaged or missing entirely. Arcs of energy crackled across its surface, and a large section of what appeared to be its propulsion system was completely dark. Dr. Elena Rivera arrived on the bridge, her usually immaculate lab coat slightly askew from her rush to respond to the summons. Her eyes widened at the sight of the alien vessel. Incredible, she breathed. The design, it's completely organic. Those aren't plates we're seeing. They're living tissue. Life signs, Reynolds asked, never taking his eyes off the mysterious ship. Multiple, Sarah confirmed, checking her readings. But they're weak and getting weaker. Whatever happened to them, they're in serious trouble. Reynolds squared his shoulders. Options. We could alert Earth Command, Sarah suggested. Wait for instructions. Round-trip communication time would be 40 minutes, the AI helpfully added. Based on current readings, the alien vessel's life support will fail in approximately 27 minutes. So we either help them now, or we let them die while waiting for permission, Reynolds said grimly. Dr. Rivera, your professional opinion. Elena studied the readings intently. Their biology appears silicon-based, but their life signs are recognizable enough. We could potentially support them in our medical bay with some modifications. Captain, this could be our only chance to make first contact. If we let them die. Reynolds nodded slowly. We'd be announcing humanity's presence to the galaxy by showing we'd rather watch others die than take a risk to help. He straightened his uniform again, a habit Sarah had learned meant he'd made up his mind. Prepare boarding teams. Full quarantine protocols. Dr. Rivera, you'll coordinate with medical. Sarah, you're with me on the boarding party. Sir, Sarah said hesitantly, this could be a violation of at least 15 international space laws. Reynolds smiled grimly. Then let's hope we're about to make some friendly aliens who can speak on our behalf at the court-martial. Sound rescue stations. As Sarah helped suit up for the rescue mission, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to change human history forever. Whether that change would be for better or worse remained to be seen. But one thing was certain. The lonely asteroid belt was about to become the most important place in human space. The rescue team assembled in the airlock, their suits decorated with the distinctive orange stripes of the mining service. Sarah checked her equipment one final time as Captain Reynolds addressed the team. Remember your training, but be ready to improvise. We're about to do something no human has ever done before. Whatever we find over there, we do this right. We show them who we are, who humanity is. Clear. Clear, sir, the team responded in unison. As the airlock cycled, Sarah took a deep breath. In all her years of training, no one had ever covered the protocol for first contact with a dying alien ship. But maybe that was the point. Sometimes the most human thing to do was to simply help those in need, regardless of where they came from or what they looked like. The airlock opened to the void, and humanity took its first step into a much larger universe. The price of compassion. The medical bay of the MSV Prosperity hummed with activity as Dr. Elena Rivera studied the readings from their alien patients. After 48 hours of intense work, they'd managed to stabilize the 6 survivors from the damaged vessel. The creatures, who called themselves the Arxer, were unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, their silicon-based biology had evolved in the crushing gravity of a super-Earth. Their iridescent, scale-like skin shifted colors with their moods, and multiple compound eyes gave them near 360-degree vision. But what fascinated Elena most was their method of communication, a combination of color patterns, subtle electromagnetic fields, and crystalline resonances that their universal translators were still struggling to fully decode. How are they doing? Sarah Chen asked, entering the medical bay. Dark circles under her eyes betrayed the long hours she'd spent coordinating the rescue operation. Recovering, Elena replied, adjusting the atmospheric mix in the isolation chamber. Their biology is fascinating. They can enter a form of suspended animation when threatened, which is probably what saved them when their ship was attacked. Attacked? Sarah's expression sharpened. They confirmed it wasn't an accident. The largest of the Arxer, who had identified itself as first speaker Vexthal, shifted its color patterns in what they'd learned was their equivalent of seeking attention. The universal translator chimed as it processed the aliens' complex communication. We fleed from the harvesters, the translator rendered in flat, artificial tones. They seek to consume all. The Arxer's scales rippled with dark patterns that the translator tagged as indicating fear and urgency. Captain Reynolds entered the medical bay, nodding to his officers before addressing Vexthal. Tell us about these harvesters. Why are they pursuing you? The aliens' response came in waves of color and electromagnetic pulses. The harvesters are a plague upon the galaxy. They do not seek territory or resources in the traditional sense. They seek biomass. They consume entire species, absorbing their genetic material to enhance themselves. We refuse to submit. Our homeworld. The translator struggled as Vexthal's colors turned deep indigo. Our homeworld is gone. A heavy silence fell over the medical bay. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she processed the implications. How long? She asked. How long until they reach this system? They follow the quantum wake of our emergency jump. another Arxer, introduced as Techmaster Z, contributed. Its colors shifted to what they'd learned to recognize as analytical mode. Based on their standard pursuit patterns, we estimate no more than 30 standard cycles of your star. A month, Elena translated. We have a month before they arrive. Reynolds' jaw tightened. What kind of weapons technology are we looking at? The Arxer's collective color patterns shifted to something the translator couldn't quite process. Their technological level exceeds our own, Vexthal admitted. They have adapted and absorbed the capabilities of dozens of species. Their ships are biomechanical horrors that can repair themselves. Traditional energy weapons are ineffective. They have consumed too many species with energy-resistant properties. Sir, Sarah interjected, we need to alert Earth Command immediately, if these harvesters are as dangerous as the Arxers say. Agreed. Reynolds turned to their alien guests. We'll help you, but we need to know everything. Every detail about their capabilities, their weaknesses, anything that might give us an edge. Techmaster Zli's colors shifted to what they'd learned was their equivalent of surprise. You would stand against the harvesters. Your species is pre-FTL. You have no quantum weaponry, no phase shields. It would be suicide. Reynolds smiled grimly. Maybe, but humanity has a long history of beating impossible odds, and we have something the harvesters might not expect. What is that? Vexthal asked. We're really good at improvising. Sarah, get me a secure channel to Earth Command. Dr. Rivera, work with our guests. I want to know everything about harvester biology. If they want to play the evolution game, let's see how they handle a few million years of human ingenuity compressed into 4 weeks. As the crew dispersed to their tasks, Sarah caught glimpses of the Arxer's color patterns shifting in rapid sequences. The translator was struggling to keep up, but she caught fragments. Unprecedented, curious species, perhaps hope. In the hours that followed, the true scope of their challenge became clear. Earth Command's response was immediate and decisive. Full mobilization of the Solar System Defense Force. Every ship that could fight would be armed and ready. Every scientist who could contribute would be pulled into the effort. The mining fleet would be converted for war. But as Sarah reviewed the preliminary numbers, her heart sank. Even with every ship in the system, they were hopelessly outnumbered. The harvesters' bioships would tear through their conventional defenses like tissue paper. She found Alina in her lab, surrounded by holographic displays showing harvester biological data gleaned from the Arxer's records. The xenobiologist's eyes were bright with what Sarah recognized as her eureka expression. Tell me you found something, Sarah said. Alina's grin was fierce. Oh, I found something all right. The harvester's greatest strength. It's also their weakness. They've absorbed so many species, made themselves so adaptable. Their genetic structure is incredibly complex, and complex systems. They're vulnerable to cascade failures. In English, Doctor. We can't beat them with brute force, Alina explained, pulling up a complex molecular diagram. But we might be able to beat them with their own game. Their biological adaptability means they're constantly fighting to maintain genetic stability. If we could introduce the right kind of disruption, a biological weapon, more like a genetic key to unlock everything they've stolen, make all those adaptations turn against each other at once. Alina's expression turned serious. But we'd need a delivery system that could penetrate their bioships, and we'd need to test it. Make sure it only affects their specific genetic structure. Sarah felt a glimmer of hope for the first time since learning about the harvesters. How long? With the Arxer's help and every geneticist in the system working on it. Maybe 3 weeks to develop it. That leaves 1 week to figure out how to deliver it. Sarah finished. She activated her comm. Captain, we may have something, but you're not going to like it. As she outlined Alina's plan, Sarah watched the Arxer's color patterns through the medical bay window. They were shifting through sequences she'd never seen before, but somehow she knew what they meant. The impossible was becoming possible. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. They were fighting to prove that compassion wasn't a weakness, that helping others wasn't a mistake. The price of that compassion might be high, but as Sarah looked at the determination on her crewmates' faces, she knew they'd pay it gladly. The harvesters were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating humanity. The real question was, would they live long enough to deliver it? United we stand. The massive shipyard orbiting Mars had never seen activity like this before. Mining vessels, transformed into warships, filled the dry docks as crews worked round the clock to prepare for humanity's first interstellar war. The MSV Prosperity, now redesignated as the prototype for their desperate plan, sat at the center of the organized chaos. Sarah Chen watched through the observation window as engineers swarmed over the ship's hull, integrating the hybrid technology developed from the Arxer's designs. What had started as a desperate idea in Alina's lab had evolved into something unprecedented, a fusion of human ingenuity and alien biotechnology. The integration is at 70%. Techmaster Z reported, its scales shimmering with calculations. The Arxer had proven invaluable in helping adapt their biological technology to human vessels. The neural interfaces are accepting the modifications better than expected. That's because humans are too stubborn to accept failure as an option, Sarah replied with a grim smile. She'd spent enough time with the Arxer to recognize the pattern of colors that indicated their version of amusement. Captain Reynolds joined them at the window, his uniform bearing the new insignia of the Joint Defense Force. A human hand and an Arxer scale intertwined. Earth Command just approved the final production run. Every ship in the fleet will be equipped with the delivery system by the end of the week. The delivery system was a masterpiece of desperate innovation. Using the Arxer's biotechnology, they had transformed the mining vessel's drill assemblies into weapons that could penetrate the harvesters' living hulls. Each drill now carried Alina's genetic weapon, designed to unravel the complex biological structures that made the harvesters so formidable. First Speaker Vexthal wishes to address the crew, Zai announced, its colors shifting to formal patterns. The quantum wake disturbances indicate the harvester fleet will arrive ahead of schedule. Reynolds nodded grimly. All hands to the main hangar. It's time they understood exactly what we're up against. The hangar bay of the Prosperity had been converted into a makeshift briefing room. Hundreds of crew members, both human and Arxer, gathered to hear their leader speak. The sight of the two species standing together, united against a common threat, was something Sarah never thought she'd see. Vexthal's massive form dominated the makeshift stage, its scales rippling with complex patterns that the improved translators now rendered with greater fidelity. In all our centuries of space travel, we never encountered a species quite like humanity, the translator conveyed. When we arrived, damaged and dying, we expected to be ignored at best, exploited at worst. Instead, you chose to help, knowing nothing about us. The aliens' colors shifted to deeper hues. The harvesters believe they are the pinnacle of evolution because they take what they want from others. But in less than a month, we have witnessed humanity accomplish what our species took centuries to develop, not through conquest or absorption, but through cooperation and innovation. Dr. Elena Rivera stepped forward, bringing up a holographic display of their modified fleet. The biomural interfaces are holding stable across all test platforms, she reported. The genetic payload has been replicated and loaded into all delivery systems. Now we just need to get close enough to use them. That's where our modifications to the mining shields come in, Sarah added, highlighting the new defense systems. We've adapted the Arxer's crystalline resonance technology to our existing field generators. The harvesters won't expect organic ships to be able to withstand their initial assault. Captain Reynolds took center stage. This won't be a conventional battle. We're not trying to overpower them. We're going to outsmart them. The harvesters expect us to either run or fight conventionally. Instead, we're going to give them something they've never seen before, a species that turns their own advantages against them. The captain's words were interrupted by a priority alert. The AI's voice echoed through the hangar. Multiple quantum wake signatures detected at the system's edge. Harvester fleet incoming. Estimated arrival time: 6 hours. A tense silence fell over the assembled crews. This was it, the moment that would decide not just humanity's fate, but perhaps the future of all species that refused to submit to the Harvester's consumption. "Battle stations," Reynolds ordered, his voice steady. "This is what we've trained for. Remember, the Harvesters think they're hunting prey. Let's show them they've walked into a trap instead." As crews rushed to their positions, Sarah caught sight of Elena making last-minute adjustments to the genetic payload's delivery system. The scientist's hands were steady, her expression focused. "Do you think this will work?" Sarah asked quietly. Elena looked up, meeting her friend's eyes. "The science is sound. The delivery system is ready. Now it's just a matter of getting close enough to use it." She managed a small smile. "Besides, as the captain likes to say, impossible is just another word for hasn't met humanity yet." The Arxer observers watched the human crews prepare for battle, their color patterns showing what the translators now identified as amazement and respect. They had come to these humans broken and defeated, carrying warning of an unstoppable enemy. Instead of finding despair, they had found allies who looked at the impossible odds and saw only a challenge to overcome. As Sarah made her way to the bridge, she felt the ship come alive around her. The bioneural interfaces pulsed with energy, merging human technology with Arxer biological systems in ways neither species had imagined possible a month ago. The mining vessel turned warship hummed with purpose, its hybrid systems ready for the coming battle. They had one shot at this. One chance to prove that compassion and cooperation could triumph over consumption and conquest. One opportunity to show the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or technology, but in its ability to unite with others and find solutions where none seemed possible. The Harvesters were coming, but they were about to learn that some prey bites back. The battle for two worlds. The void between Mars and Jupiter erupted with activity as the Harvester fleet emerged from quantum space. Their bioships were monstrosities that defied conventional physics, massive organic vessels that seemed to absorb light itself. The fleet moved with perfect coordination, like a swarm of predators that had done this 1,000 times before. On the bridge of the Prosperity, Sarah Chen felt her breath catch at the sight. The Harvester vessels made the Arxer ship they'd rescued look primitive by comparison. These were the apex predators of the galaxy, evolved through the absorbed traits of countless conquered species. "All ships, Battle Formation Delta," Captain Reynolds commanded, his voice steady despite the odds they faced. "Remember your training. Remember why we fight." The transformed mining fleet moved into position, their hybrid shields humming with crystalline resonance technology. 60 vessels against over 200 Harvester bioships. The numbers were even worse than their initial estimates. First Speaker Vexthal stood at the tactical station, its scales shifting through complex patterns of determination and concern. They're deploying in their standard consumption formation. They believe this will be a simple harvesting operation. "Good," Reynolds smiled grimly. "Let them think that." "Sarah, signal the first phase." The mining fleet scattered in what appeared to be panic, breaking formation as if overwhelmed by the sight of the enemy. The Harvester fleet responded exactly as predicted, breaking into smaller groups to pursue what they saw as easy prey. "They're taking the bait," Sarah reported, watching the tactical display. "Pursuing ships are entering optimal range for the resonance burst." "All ships, execute maneuver Prometheus," Reynolds ordered. The fleeing mining vessels suddenly reversed course in perfect synchronization. The crystalline resonance shields that had been drawing power for the past 5 minutes released their energy in a coordinated burst. The effect on the pursuing Harvester ships was immediate. Their biomechanical hulls spasmed as if in pain, their perfect coordination momentarily disrupted. "Direct hits on 37 enemy vessels," the AI reported. "Their organic systems are showing signs of stress, but they're adapting to the resonance frequency." "Just as we expected," Elena's voice came over the comm from her station in the science lab. "Their biological adaptation is actually working against them." Every ship that survives is transmitting its adapted defense to the others, making them more complex, more unstable. Phase 2, Reynolds commanded. All ships, form up on your designated targets. Drilling teams stand by. The mining fleet split into pre-assigned groups, each targeting a specific harvester vessel. The enemy fleet, recovering from the initial shock, began to respond with devastating bioplasma weapons. Several human ships took direct hits, their hybrid shields straining against weapons evolved from dozens of species technologies. Prosperity taking heavy fire, Sarah reported as the ship shuddered. Shields at 60% and falling. Hold formation, Reynolds ordered. Wait for it. The harvester ships pressed their advantage, moving closer to finish off what they saw as wounded prey. Their bioplasma weapons became more accurate with each shot, their hulls already adapting to prevent another resonance burst. Now, Reynolds shouted, all ships, execute Operation Pandora. The mining vessel's modified drilling arrays activated simultaneously. What had once been tools for breaking apart asteroids had been transformed into delivery systems for Elena's genetic weapon. The drills, enhanced with Arxer biotechnology, punctured the living hulls of the harvester ships. Payload delivery confirmed, Elena reported excitedly. Multiple direct injections of the genetic destabilizer. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The harvester ships continued their attack, their weapons becoming more devastating with each adaptation. Then, slowly at first, but with increasing speed, their coordinated movements began to falter. It's working, Elena breathed. The genetic cascade is spreading through their neural networks. All those adaptations, all those absorbed traits, they're turning against each other. The effect spread through the harvester fleet like a virus. Bioships began to spasm and twist, their organic components fighting against each other as centuries of stolen genetic material went to war within their own systems. Ships that had been firing devastating weapons moments before now drifted helplessly, their biological systems in chaos. Enemy vessels showing critical genetic instability, the AI reported. Their collective neural network is collapsing. The cascade effect is accelerating beyond predicted parameters. All ships, fall back to safe distance, Reynolds ordered. Let's not get caught in whatever's about to happen. The mining fleet retreated as the harvester bioships began to break apart. Their highly evolved organic technology, the very thing that had made them so formidable, was now their undoing. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were being torn apart from within by their own stolen adaptations. Multiple quantum wake signatures detected, Sarah reported. The remaining harvester ships are attempting emergency jumps. Let them go, Reynolds said quietly. Let them carry word back to their collective. Let them remember what happened when they thought humanity would be easy prey. As the last harvester ships fled or succumbed to the genetic cascade, a cheer went up across the fleet. Human and Arxer crews celebrated together, united in a victory that would reshape the galaxy's balance of power. I never thought I'd see this day. Vexthal's colors rippled with joy and disbelief. The harvesters, defeated not by superior firepower or overwhelming numbers, but by turning their own evolutionary strategy against them. Sarah watched the tactical display as the last enemy signatures vanished. We did it by working together, she said. Your knowledge of their biology, our ability to adapt and improvise, Elena's brilliant genetic work. No single species could have done this alone. A lesson the harvesters never learned, Reynolds added. They thought consuming other species made them stronger. We proved that cooperating with others, combining our strengths willingly, is the true path to evolution. As the fleet regrouped and began rescue operations for damaged vessels, Sarah couldn't help but smile at the irony. The harvesters had come to consume and absorb, never imagining that their prey would instead teach them a lesson about the real meaning of adaptation and survival. The battle was over, but its implications would echo through the galaxy for generations to come. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage not as conquerors or victims, but as protectors and allies. They had proven that compassion wasn't weakness, that helping others could lead to strength greater than any single species could achieve alone. The price of victory had been high. Several ships lost, many crews wounded, but they had faced the galaxy's greatest predator and emerged victorious. Not bad, Sarah thought, for a pre-FTL species that had simply chosen to help a damaged alien ship one quiet day in the asteroid belt. Legacy of Hope. 1 month after the Battle of the Asteroid Belt, the Sol system was transformed. Ships from a dozen alien species now orbited Earth's space stations, their crews eager to meet the pre-FTL civilization that had done the impossible. The defeat of the Harvesters had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, and humanity found itself at the center of a rapidly changing cosmic order. Sarah Chen stood in the newly constructed diplomatic center on Luna, watching Earth rise over the horizon. The massive viewing window was specifically designed to showcase humanity's homeworld to visiting alien delegations. Beside her, Dr. Elena Rivera was explaining the principles behind their genetic weapon to a group of fascinated xenobiologists from 3 different species. The key wasn't just understanding their biology, Elena explained, her hands moving animatedly as she spoke. It was recognizing that their greatest strength, their ability to absorb and adapt, could become their greatest weakness. Sometimes the most powerful solutions come from changing your perspective on the problem. Captain Reynolds, now Admiral Reynolds, approached the group. His new uniform bore the insignia of the Interstellar Defense Coalition, a rapidly forming alliance born from the cooperation that had saved the Sol system. The Arxer Council just voted unanimously to establish their new homeworld in the Ta Ceti system, he announced. They've asked for human assistance in establishing the colony. They could have chosen any of the more advanced species to help them, Sarah noted, watching first speaker Vexthal address another group of diplomats, its scales shimmering with patterns of hope and determination. Why us? Because we proved something important, Elena replied. We showed that technological advancement isn't the only measure of a civilization's worth. Our willingness to help others, to innovate and adapt, to face impossible odds. These qualities matter more than having the most advanced ships or weapons. The room's attention shifted as Tech Master Z entered, accompanied by a team of human engineers. The hybrid technology they had developed to fight the Harvesters was being refined and improved through continued cooperation. Mining vessels were being redesigned with bio-neural interfaces as standard features, making them safer and more efficient than ever before. The first joint human Arxer research facility will be operational within 6 months. Zai announced, its colors displaying excitement. We've already received applications from 17 other species wanting to participate in the project. Not bad for a species that hadn't even achieved FTL travel. Reynolds smiled. Though I hear that's about to change too. Sarah nodded, pulling up a holographic display of the prototype FTL drive. It combined human innovation with Arxer biological technology and contributions from 3 other species. First test flight is scheduled for next week. We're not just copying existing technology, we're helping develop something entirely new. That seems to be humanity's specialty. A new voice joined the conversation. Ambassador Liana, representing one of the oldest spacefaring civilizations, approached the group. The crystalline being's form sparkled in Earth's reflected light. Your species has accomplished in months what many of us failed to do in centuries. You've shown us all a better way forward. We just did what anyone would do, Sarah replied. We helped those in need, worked together to solve problems, and refused to give up when things seemed impossible. That's precisely why you've become so important to the galaxy's future, Liana continued. Many species achieve technological advancement. Few achieve wisdom along with it. Your civilization's first major action on the galactic stage was to risk everything to help others. That speaks volumes about who you are as a species. The conversation was interrupted by an alert from the Solar Observation Network. Everyone turned to the main display as a massive ship emerged from FTL at the edge of the system. It was unlike anything they'd seen before. a beautiful blend of organic and mechanical technology that seemed to represent the best of multiple species' engineering philosophies. Right on schedule, Reynolds smiled. The first ship of the new interstellar defense fleet, built by 6 species working together, crewed by volunteers from 12 more. And they want human captains for the entire first wave of vessels. Sarah watched as the ship moved gracefully into orbit, its design a physical representation of what could be achieved through cooperation rather than conquest. The harvesters thought they could become stronger by taking from others, she mused. We proved that true strength comes from working together, from combining our knowledge and abilities freely. And from showing compassion, Lilina added. If we hadn't stopped to help the damaged Arxer ship, none of this would have happened. We'd still be alone in the asteroid belt, mining rocks and wondering if anyone else was out there. Ambassador Lyanna's crystalline form, pulsed with what they'd learned, was their equivalent of approval. Perhaps that is your species' greatest gift to the galaxy. The demonstration that compassion and cooperation are not weaknesses to be overcome, but strengths to be embraced. As if to emphasize the point, a group of children, human and alien alike, ran past them, playing some newly invented game that combined elements from multiple cultures. Their laughter and joy needed no translation, a living symbol of the future they were building. You know, Sarah said, watching Earth rise over Luna's horizon, when we first encountered the damaged ship, I never imagined it would lead to all this. We were just trying to help. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness have the greatest consequences, Reynolds replied. We helped one ship, and in doing so, we helped change the galaxy. As the sun caught Earth's oceans, making them sparkle like diamonds against the blue marble of their homeworld, Sarah thought about everything that had happened. They had faced the galaxy's greatest threat and emerged victorious not through superior fire